Hey guys, it's Melissa and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Melissa Allen and I do these true crime videos. I don't normally do them in my room. Well, not anymore. Just a quick little thing. I'm working on trying to upgrade my video and audio for you guys. I really do. I think it's time. I want to. I don't know what I'm doing. So we're doing a couple things in our office. As for video, like this is probably as good as it's going to get for a while. Like I need new equipment, whatever, I'll get to it. But as for audio, before I go out and buy a new microphone, because I'm on like a quarantine no buy, I have to do a couple things to the office. So I'm trying to like get down some rugs and kind of just deal with the massive echo issue. So thank you to everyone who has made such kind suggestions. I really appreciate it. And even I don't mind because you gave me good tips. So I am working on fixing it. So we're just gonna record in my room for a while until I get that done and maybe the kids like find something to do with their life. Like for an hour, just do something. But until then, I'm just gonna lock myself in my room and record. So today's video, we are going to talk about Jayna Murray. This is called the Lululemon murders, the yoga shop murder. It's a tragic, tragic story. And I'm just gonna give you the salacious part of it right now. Like this is just insanity. Police are called. There are two women inside of the store. They both work there. One is, I'm not even gonna give you all the details because she's brutally assaulted and wounded and harmed and she is dead on arrival. And then there is another employee who has also been assaulted and attacked, but it's not as bad and she is still alive. They take her to the hospital. She tells this like salacious story of these, we'll get to it. No, that's not what happened. She did it. Brittany Norwood killed Jayna Murray, her coworker, at the legging store. Like insanity, two beautiful, attractive, fit women working great job. Then yeah, she brutally killed her. So we're gonna talk about the story. We're gonna talk about why, but more important than that, because there is a little bit of intrigue in how in the hell this happened. And then on top of it, when it happens to someone so purely good, like it really, really sucks. It just adds a little extra because this is someone who is going to contribute to a society and do great things. The thing that I want to talk about is the thing that like literally just rips at my core. I just covered this in a video a couple days ago with Gretchen Anthony. I don't understand when somebody hears someone else being hurt or harmed or doesn't know, but they hear a ruckus or chaos. I do not understand how you don't go investigate it. Peek around the corner, tap on the wall and ask, you okay? Go around, go in, do something. Call the police if you don't want to get involved. Like, I don't understand. Yeah, I don't. I still don't understand. And this case is in 2011, so I'd like to say that the world got better, but I just covered a case from 2020, 3 days ago, so it doesn't get any better. Lululemon, for those of you that don't know, is a high-end legging and activewear company, all right? So I thought, just so we're clear, in case you didn't know, I thought that Lululemon and Lululemon, which is the like leggings that people sell on Facebook all the time for like $80 or $40. And they're like, oh, they're so amazing. I thought they were the same. Okay, go and laugh at me now. I'm sorry. I own some designer items, but I'm not that girl. I'm just not, especially when it comes to fitness gear. Like, let's be honest. I'm not paying $140 for leggings. It's not my thing. But I get it if it's your thing. So I don't have a problem with it, but I thought they were the same. And Lululemon is a MLM, a multi-level marketing company. So like you sell leggings to your friends to make money. You guys know where I'm going with this. You know what these are. So I thought they were the same. They're not. I have a lot more respect for Lululemon after doing this research. And so this is why I wanted to share it with you guys, because maybe you do care as well. But Lululemon is actually out of Vancouver, Canada. And they are really based on more than just fitness, on motivation and being good people and spiritual and giving back to the world. And they have like a really big positive message for their overall branding of their company. And I think that's amazing. So yeah, they're a designer, high quality workout clothing focused for women. And they have storefronts, and they had a storefront in Bethesda, Maryland. From what I saw online, looked up Bethesda, Maryland really quick. It's gorgeous, beautiful, nice, safe, serene, upscale, very beautiful area. And there's a large shopping mall, and it's going to be an outdoor one, very big. Picture, you've got the Lululemon store, you've got an Apple store, you've got a fancy restaurant. So this is like one of those big areas with all the really nice stores. And working at this location was Brittany Norwood and Jayna Murray. Jayna Murray had been working there for about 2 years and was a manager. Brittany had just recently transferred to the Bethesda store a couple weeks prior to the incident on March 11th. Let me tell you now about Jayna, because I'm going to tell you about Brittany later. So let me tell you about Jayna, because that is really what matters at the end of it, is that who she was and what she had to offer to this world. I don't ever want to lose sight of that, because that is the most important part. So now we're going to talk about Jayna.
Jayna Murray was a bright, motivated, just going for life kind of girl. She was getting actually her 2 master's degrees in 2 weeks from Johns Hopkins University. She already had her degrees. She had huge plans, and her whole plan in life was to get this job at Lululemon and then get promoted to go work in the Vancouver location so she could live in Washington next to her boyfriend that she'd been dating for a couple of years. So she was literally about to do this, get her 2 master's degrees and move to Washington to work at the Vancouver location at the Lululemon corporate office.
On Saturday, March 12th, it was a little before 8 o'clock in the morning. Rachel is the store manager of this Lululemon location. She comes into the store and she puts her key in, she opens the door and she makes it in a little bit. And then she ends up running out of the store, and there's a man who's standing in line. This is 2011, so there was people getting in line at the Apple store for the iPad 2. Okay, so this was a while ago. So there's a guy standing outside by the name of Ryan, and he sees Rachel go into the store. I'm pulling at strings. I'm not crazy. So he sees the girl going into the store, and he sees her come out, and he's like, hey, what's going on? She seems upset. She's on the phone. She's like, I think somebody broke into my store. I'm kind of nervous to be in there by myself. And the guy's like, you know what? I'm going to go in there and check with you. So they thought it was just a robbery, but they get further into the store, and they find that he ends up finding Jayna in the back of the store on the floor. It's a viciously brutal scene. Again, I don't put bloody scenes up. So this one's a little difficult. I can't, there's only so many pictures I can put up for you guys. The crime scene was horrific. The one thing that is really hard for me on this case is that you can't go on Google without seeing them. That sucks. It really does. Crime scene photos really need to keep a blur on them, or they need to be on another website, not just front of Google. I hate that. So if you decide to look it up, just know that literally it's all over Google. You're going to see these photos. When they come in, they go down. There ends up being a hallway, rooms, going into the back. They've got a stock room. They've got a break room. They've got a little couch for people hanging out. They've got all kinds of stuff to take care of the store. They've got stock, everything. So when they get back there, Jayna's on the ground. There's stuff everywhere, and she is not even recognizable. The gentleman then is going to leave the store to, help with calling 911, and he goes by the bathroom and he realizes that there's another person in there. And when they get the door open, I think this is the door they had to nudge to get it to open, and he sees Brittany is laying on the ground. Now, again, this photo is also online, not posting it, and she is laid on her back, she's straight out on her back, and she has her hands just laying above her head. You can't see this in the photo, but her crotch has been cut out of her pants. And then there are cuts in the pants. There's just a cut here and a cut here and a cut here and a cut here. Very straight, just it looks awkward. It looks when you cut pants yourself, when my kids did this. You try to cut your own pants and you just put little weird marks. That's what it looks like. And I'm only mocking because now, we're clear, she did this. So, it was so dumb when I actually saw the picture of, how the cuts were. She does have a huge wound on her head, and she does have lacerations all over her, and she is bleeding, and they are worried about her. So they rush her to the hospital, and they treat her, and they realize that all of her wounds were actually really superficial. She ended up with 2 wounds that they actually had to bandage and stitch. But again, there was that big, huge wound on her head.
What they actually think happened in order for her to have had such a big wound on her head, it didn't seem really plausible that somebody would actually be able to pick up an object that hard and actually hit themselves on the head as hard as she hit her head. And they saw in one of the documentaries that they think what happened is that it was kind of a range of motion. So she was swinging, and that somehow she ended up pulling it and whacking herself on the head. Kind of if you go to hit something and it bounces back. They kind of thought that might explain how she was able to hit her own self on the head so hard.
So police end up meeting with Brittany, and they're interviewing her, and they want to get her side of what the heck happened. And Brittany tells them a very scary story. And we know it's fake now, but at the time, the city of Bethesda was freak out. They were scared over this. So Brittany says that her and Jayna lock up the store at the end of the night, and they're done with it. Jayna's the manager. She locks up the store, and they leave. She says that as she's leaving, she gets almost to the metro station, or right to the metro station, and realizes that she doesn't have her Metro card or her wallet. I'm not sure which one because it was said differently in two different sources. So she doesn't have her Metro card is what's the most important thing. And she needs to get a hold of Jayna so she can get back into the store. She ends up phoning another employee, and the employee is like, hey, why don't you just call Rachel, who is the store manager? Because Rachel, the store manager, lives right across the street. And she's like, yeah, I don't really want to bother her. I would rather just call Jayna because literally Jayna's probably still walking to her car and I can get a hold of her and then she can just come right back. And so the employee's like, yeah, no problem. So she gives her Jayna's number. Brittany ends up calling Jayna and is like, hey, can you come back to the store? And she's like, yeah, no problem. I actually forgot my laptop too, so I'll meet you back at the store. She ends up meeting her back at the store, and once they get in there, they can't find her Metro card. Like, they can't find the wallet, they can't find the Metro card. They're standing there, they're talking. What really happened is Jayna was a nice person and offered Brittany her Metro card. So she's like, you know what? Why don't you just use mine and we'll deal with it tomorrow, okay? Like, no big deal. And then Brittany said that they were attacked by these men.
And then after they had made the agreement over the Metro card, they went to leave the store and realized that they had not remembered to lock the door because they were just running in quickly, and that there were two men inside of the store that attacked them.
I'm going to give you what they said, she said, and just in case this triggers anyone, because I just don't want any, this triggers me. So I'm just going to tell you what she said happened. Brittany said that the two men not only violently attacked her and Jayna, but that they also assaulted them sexually with a foreign object, a hanger, to both of them. And then she goes on further to say that the men were violently calling her, only Brittany, racist names and terms and just berating her and being really mean and awful to her and attacking her. And that these men then eventually threw her on top of Jayna and just were laughing when police were trying to figure out why she survived and not Jayna. She added an extra insult to say that the men told her that the only reason she was surviving is that she was more fun to jack around with. Like, it still just, it made the whole town petrified, like scared. These two men just are out losing their, and just attacking women, and like, it was bad. Police, though, are looking at it wondering, okay, that happens where one person survives. And yeah, you might have one person be viciously attacked more, but usually it's because it's personal. So they're kind of like, okay. And then they start looking at the weapons that were used in this attack, and they realized that every single weapon was from inside the store. Well, that's interesting. And then they also noticed that there are shoe prints. The shoe prints belong to a size 14 male shoe. And then there's also Brittany shoe prints. Okay. And they're all over the store. And then they realize the shoe is there at the store. This pair of size 14 Reeboks, I think it was. I'll put them over you guys. These shoes are there. So they end up talking to Rachel or Brittany, and they're asking, they're like, hey, like, are there any, like, do you guys sell shoes? And like, no. And they realize that they did have some shoes at the store. Because they're a legging, a high-end legging. You ever go into a store and they size you? I did not know you could get leggings hemmed up, but you can. So that's cool. So they always had some shoes on hand that you could just slide your feet into in case you needed to figure out height or something. So they always had these shoes. Now, these shoes, they're looking at them, and the sole of them is clean, but there's blood on them. There's blood in the insole. And so it's like, wait, it's not unheard of for a perpetrator to try to cover their own scene by using things like an extra pair of shoes, or not their own shoes, basically. But it's really weird for them to leave them behind. Okay, that's fine. It's been done before. Super extra that you use the ones that were in the store. So now they're figuring out these guys apparently had full mask on. So they planned that out. But they didn't have any weapons of any kind. There's only one set of shoe prints, and it belongs to the store shoes. So it's like, why they use their own shoes? Then they're looking at the restraints that were used to tie up Brittany, and she's been zip tied. And so they're like, okay. They look at the zip ties and they realize that it's got Brittany's teeth mark on it because she had zip tied her bottom feet, and then when she zip tied her hands, she used her teeth to pull it. So like, okay. So they used zip ties that came from the store, and Brittany sealed her own. For crime scene investigators, there are certain things they look at. When they started to look at her and thinking like, something's not right about this story. And when the detective thought to himself, I think Brittany did it. He obviously went and looked for help. And he's like, what would you look for if Brittany did it herself? And these were the first things they said. The weapons would be inside the store, all of this, da-da-da-da-da. Like, these are all the things that would happen, and these are all the things that did happen. So now there's a couple things they're trying to figure out. Number one, why? Long story on that one. Number two, where's Jayna's car? Because remember, Jayna pulled up in front, parked her car, and jumped out to go inside. Jayna's car is gone. So that means the perpetrator took it. So the other thing they're trying to figure out, like, if it was Brittany, then Brittany had to move the car. Brittany's blood is going to be in that car. And it was. It was on the gear shift. It was on the steering wheel. It was on a jacket on the ground and on a hat in the back seat or in the front seat, whatever. So it's a black Lululemon hat, and it had blood directly right where it would have had if Brittany had put it on after being attacked. The reason they already knew that the attack had to happen before the car got moved, okay? They have the alarm codes, okay? Obviously, so they know when they got back to the store. They know when the employee at the Apple store heard a commotion because it's on camera. This is literally footage of the Apple employees walking around the store hearing Jayna be attacked. It's a hard one to swallow, but yeah, they're actually listening to her being attacked. They are hearing somebody saying, they hear two women. That's another issue that came up, is that when these are witnesses and all they heard were two women yelling. And they heard one woman very loudly screaming, "Why won't you talk to me? Tell me what's going on. What's going on? What's going on? Tell me." And the other person saying, "Oh God, no." It was Brittany yelling at Jayna because she wanted to talk about something that Brittany was caught on. She had caught stealing that day. So let me tell you the story of how this happened. I'll give you a little backup on Brittany, okay? So Brittany worked for Lululemon for a little bit. She actually used to work at another location. That location was having some troubles with things coming up missing at the store. You don't know how far involved it was, and they hadn't quite figured it out. But something with the manager was starting to have a problem with Brittany and thought that there was an issue with her stealing. And then she broke a policy and she was fired from that store. What had happened is that Lululemon obviously gives their employees a very high discount, and they should, because they want their employees to wear their clothing on a regular basis. They give them access to gyms. So they want their girls wearing their leggings and out showing them off so that people will want to buy them. So they give them a really good discount. It's that time of year, mosquito bites, guys. I'm sorry. And then once a year, they do a stellar discount. They give you 70% off so that you have an opportunity to buy what you can afford so that you can wear it throughout the year. So they do this percentage off, and it's 70% off, but they have to do a cap of $1,000. And that's just because they don't want to run their entire stock out, because like any smart employee would just be like, "I will take it all," and then go sell it on eBay. Okay, so there's a cap. You can only buy $1,000. Brittany says to the manager, "Hey, I've only been here a while. Can I go over just a little bit because I kind of want to stock up and have plenty of clothes?" And the manager assumed that it was like one of these things where she's going to go over like $50 or $100. Not a big deal. Okay, cool. I'll let you make a little exception. And that's not what happened. She spends like over $2,200, and she didn't really seem apologetic about it. The manager pulls her in there. She gets really defensive, and they fire her on the spot. She goes home. She ends up talking to friends, ends up talking to a lawyer, because in all honesty, Lululemon allowed the exception for a lot of employees. I mean, not up to $2,200, but if you even let one employee go over $5, you gotta break the rules for everyone, okay? So the Lululemon regional manager ends up contacting her and is like, "Hey, sorry about that. We're gonna go and give you your job back, but we're gonna have you go to this other location, the Bethesda location." So it turns out it works out for Brittany, because the Bethesda location has a lot of connections for her. And remember, she is like super interested in becoming a fitness trainer. I hadn't told you that yet. Let me tell you a little bit about Brittany. She really, really wanted to get into fitness, okay? She had some troubles in school. She did go to college, but then she started having problems with the girls there on the campus. There were some issues of stealing. There was some issues of her grade point average, and she ended up not even graduating. She was 11 credits short. Like, her family didn't even know that because she lied to them and told them that she owed student loans, and that, yeah. Lying was a problem for Brittany. When I first heard this story, I thought, that's sad. That's really sad that this girl has like this stealing problem and lying problem. It's just a shame, because maybe she would have grown out of it. And then I realized she was 28 when this happened. For some reason, I thought she was like maybe 20 or something. And not that that would excuse it, but it's like, dang, man. So at this point, what it appears from everything I get, so I don't want to sit and go on for hours and hours, so I'm just going to give you my presumptive assumption. She had kind of learned how to work people and how to be manipulative. And I don't think that she understood the consequences. She dated like men that were like a dentist, okay? This really established and successful dentist, and she was dating him. And then they dated for like a minute, and then he broke it off. that wasn't working for her. So she like broke into his house and stole the new girlfriend's stuff.
And then the dentist went to court, gets a restraining order put out against her. She violates the restraining order and a warrant is put out for her. But since she didn't get caught again and she didn't violate the order again, though nothing happened with the warrant. Again, she just got away with doing something and there wasn't a consequence.
I just get this feeling that because she stole so much and she became entitled and she felt like she just couldn't get enough. And she manipulated people and took advantage. There was a story with a hairdresser. So they're in Washington. It's like this high-end hairdresser. And she goes and gets like a full shabam, weave and all. And it's like $1,200. And she's getting ready to leave and pay the hairdresser. And then she looks in her purse and she's like, oh my God, somebody stole the $1,200. Like somebody here stole my $1,200 cash. Like I brought you $1,200 cash to pay you. And somebody stole it. And the hairdresser's like, oh, okay. Like, I'm sorry, bring it to me later. And at first I thought like, no, if you steal, but I think even the hairdresser was like, really? Like you left your, like, how did you leave your purse out with $1,200 cash? Rather than even like dealing with it or refusing to pay her or anything, she just like leaves, says she's going to bring her the money later and then blocks her. There were a lot of stories of her. There was at the new store. So she's working at Bethesda. And one of the girls is like spraying on her, expensive $70 bottle of Vera Wang perfume. And Brittany mentions like, oh, that's really nice. And the girl's like, oh, here, you can try some. And she sprays it on herself. And then later on that day, the girl's missing the perfume. And another employee is like, yeah, I saw it in Brittany's bag. She calls it Brittany. Brittany's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. It seems she just wanted more than she had. And it didn't seem like it was ever enough. She was always known for being impeccably dressed and in high sense of fashion and her hair always done and the nails done. That day, she had just got done getting her hair and nails and toes done. She just wanted more. She was on the way to earning enough money to provide that for herself. It seemed like that wasn't happening fast enough for her. So we have the issue with the discount, and now they've sent her to work at the Bethesda, Maryland location. She's there working, and the girls there start to complain. They're noticing, like the Vera Wang bottle. They're noticing like $5 here, $10 there. Same thing is happening again. Same thing she had in college where people are always just kind of like, I don't know, because it wasn't normally $70 bottles of perfume. It was always just stuff and it just wouldn't stop. So they're starting to think like, okay, this is only happening when Brittany's working. She's new here. Something's up. They ended up having a manager's meeting on Wednesday. And they're supposed to be talking about other things, but they end up spending most of this meeting talking about Brittany. And they're just like, we have to get this under control. If she's stealing, we have to catch her. Like, we have to deal with this. We can't have this going on. So they all kind of had a plan to keep an eye out. And if anyone sees Brittany doing anything, to report it, and they're going to take care of it. So now, fast forward to Friday night. Jayna's not supposed to be working. She's actually covering for someone else. Brittany's working, and then there's one other employee. 3 employees are supposed to close, but due to short staffing, that's why Jayna was covering for someone and they were closing by themselves. So now it's just Brittany and Jayna closing. The other girl went home at like 7 o'clock. They get to the end of the 9 o'clock shift and they spend like about 45 minutes doing all of their normal cleanup, closing, and everything. And as they're about to leave, just like a lot of retail stores, back then you would just check up somebody's bag. So you just open their bag and look in it. A lot of times now, companies require that employees come in with clear bags. And Jayna's like, hey, this is so normal. Like they're all used to this. This isn't like you don't do it. And she's like, hey, let me check your bag really quick. And she checks in and she finds a pair of leggings with the tag still on them. And she's like, what's going on here? And she said, oh, I bought them earlier from so-and-so. I forgot to get the receipt from her. She even goes and tries to get into the computer to see if she can get it, but everything's closed down. So she can't get a receipt. And she's like, Brittany's like, what do you want? Do you want me to go get the receipt? Do you want me to call her? She'll verify it. And she's like, no, it's okay. We'll just deal with it tomorrow. So Jayna, they leave and Jayna ends up calling, she makes calls to the managers like, hey, I think I just caught her stealing. And she calls that one employee and she's like, no, I did not sell her pants today. She calls Rachel, the store manager, and lets her know like, hey, I think I just caught her stealing. Like I just did. Like she's stealing. She had a pair of pants. I called the employee. They didn't sell them to her. So like, okay, cool. I'm going to, tomorrow she's fired. But it doesn't end there because they went back to the store. So Brittany calls her and says, hey, I forgot my Metro card. And Jana's like, yeah, no problem. I'll meet you back at the store. And they get back to the store. And this whole bularchy of like some people attack them, that's not what happened. Here's what we've kind of gathered. When they got back to the store, Brittany started questioning Jayna. She wanted to know, who have you told? Are you going to tell on me? And everyone said that Jayna was would not back down for a second. She was a straight shooter. She was very bold, very upfront, not a nasty person, but definitely that kind of person that like, she was definitely somebody that would go up. Like if she saw something and had a question, like she wasn't shy. She wasn't embarrassed about things. Like she would definitely go up and ask somebody about something. So it is assumed that Brittany was questioning her like, hey, and that Jayna was not like, oh, it's okay, I don't know. No, she was like, yeah, you're stealing. I called Rachel, I'm telling her. And by the way, you know that job at Equinox you want that you have the second interview for? Yeah, I'm going to tell them too. Like, you can't be stealing. It's not okay. I think Jayna just thought, like, no, I'm going to be direct with you. This is wrong. You don't do this and you have to deal with the consequences. And in no way did she even fathom that Brittany was going to attack her. And she did. Jayna must have turned around at some point in time and Brittany ended up striking her on the back of the head. She ended up dragging her through the store. The assault happened all over the store. Brittany did everything she could to try to cover that scene up. She put the shoes on herself and stomped all over the store. She then cleaned the bottom of them. She came up with a story for how Jayna had made it all the way to the back door and put her key into the emergency exit to try to get out the door. She made up a story about that. There was just stories upon stories. And the thing was, is at first, she was kind of good at it for a second. She'd been manipulating and lying her whole life. She came up with a really damn good story. But what really killed it for them was that they asked her about Jayna's car. Remember, the car's in front of the store. Gotta be moved. Okay? And at first, she's like, they asked her, do you know anything about Jayna's car? She's like, no, it's like a $2 car or something. I've never been in it. But then they find the car. They found the car because an officer had actually seen the car in another parking lot a couple blocks down the road that night. They're back at the scene. Remember, they don't have a lot of crime here, so they're all talking to each other. And this officer is like, yeah, I actually saw that car. I recognize it. I know it's that car because it had Texas plates. It's different from the other cars. And I saw it around midnight, and there was someone sitting in the front seat. And then I went by about 2 hours later, and the lights were still on, but nobody was in the car anymore. And I just thought, like, I don't know, like somebody just decided to leave their car. I mean, nothing seemed awkward at first. Like, he just figured they're warming up their car. They're waiting for someone. Like, I know the stores are closed, but, like, he didn't pull over to check it out. And they have the car. And then now Brittany suddenly comes back to the police department. Her brother calls and was like, yeah, she has more info for you. Can she come in? They're like, yeah, bring her in. And they get down there. And Brittany's like, I didn't want to tell you guys this part, but this is what happened. The guys, after they attacked us, they made me take Jayna's car and drive it down the road and park it. And then they made me walk back. And so they're like, whoa. You got in her car and drove away. Why didn't you run away? That's when she says that they actually had her address. And they were saying her name and they were saying her address. And they were scaring her. So she was afraid they were going to come back and hurt her. Police they just don't believe this. Like, you don't drive away from two vicious men that have assaulted you and just killed your coworker, and you do not choose to walk back to them. And she even mentions that she passed an officer and that she didn't say anything because she was too scared. She said she walked back, and then that's why she had to tie herself back up. When they finally start to confront Brittany with everything, she immediately is like, can I leave? Police do an amazing job. They walk out of the room, give somebody a chance, and then they come back in with a new question. And then usually you can keep a conversation going so somebody doesn't leave. So they do this a couple of times. They're getting more and more information from her. And then eventually they send in her brother. She didn't exactly admit it, but she does. She says, we can't talk about this right here. And I don't know what happened. It just happened. There's a couple things she says that make it very obvious. I'm going to insert whatever clips from the interrogation that I can, but I think they are owned by Oxygen, so I don't think I'm going to be able to insert them for you guys, but I'll try. But I will link everything for you guys down below so that you can look further into it. I recommend the book that's on Audible, The Yoga Shop Murders. That one was really well done. Eleanor's video and Shauna Rae's video. Those two were really well done. They're very, very long, very detailed. Eleanor's is a 2-part, and I think Shauna's is almost 2 hours. So that's why I wanted to give you guys just a short version. And I want to explain the case to you guys. It's intriguing. I don't even know what to tell you. Could anybody have expected this from Brittany? I don't think so. I know her family wanted there to be leniency and give her a chance to get out, but, and I felt a little different when I thought she was only like 20 or 21. Not that I excuse behavior, but I always like to, like, it's just really hard for me to understand if somebody makes a mistake when they're like 18, 19, that they could really lose their entire life But like, I don't disagree, because if you commit murder, like, you are useless to society anymore, personally. But her family begged for leniency, and the judge said no, absolutely not. He demonstrated that when 300, just 300, and they believe there were well over 300, because these stabbing wounds were on top of it. She used 5 to 10 different weapons from within the side of that store. Like, she didn't stop. She just kept going and getting more. Like, it wasn't enough. I always wonder, like, if you were being attacked by someone and, you know, like an intruder comes in your home and you're like really trying to make sure you kill them, like, there's always like the thing, like, you know, shoot them one more time to make sure they're actually dead or something like that. But that's out of fear. What makes you just not stop when somebody, she was moving a little bit. Jayna was still moving because there was a little bit of blood throughout the whole back room, but like, she didn't get up and run away from her. She couldn't. And they were able to do from blood spatter that Brittany was originally standing attacking, and then she was crouching, and then she was crouching all the way down. Like, she just wouldn't stop. 300 times. Just like this. Just do it 300 times. It would have at least taken 5 to 6 minutes going fast. And your arm can't handle that, no matter how fit she is. Like, it wouldn't stop. And it was well over 300. And they said that it took anywhere from 8 to 16 minutes to hours for her to complete this. They're not even really sure. And Jayna was alive through this. It's horrific. Wait, why? Why were you so just soulless? This is not a young, immature person who just didn't understand the gravity of life yet. You was 28. You went to college. You have a good family. She did. I think she was like, there was 8 siblings in her family. Like, you had love, you had support, you had a home, you had people who cared about you. She was actually living with her sister at the time, who was financially successful and doing well. You have all these opportunities. She'd gotten in trouble before, and she always found a way out of it. Her family never disowned her over it. And all I can think is that she lost her temper and struck her the first time, and then she was trying to cover it. But I don't think that's what it. I think she snapped. I think she just went absolutely crazy. She was so worried about that damn job that she viciously and violently murdered Jayna. And the people at the Apple store heard it. I'm just guessing, but I assume that the people at the Apple store feel horrible. You have to. You have to feel like just horrible. And honestly, I'm sure they could think back and just be like, damn, what was I thinking? Did I mention one of them was a security guard? The security guard knocked on the wall, and then they got quiet, and he was like, oh, okay, it's fine. Nah, I hear this all the time. No big deal. He's a security guard. All he had to do is just walk his booty outside and just peek in the window. The one store employee that was the one who was the most concerned, and it did ask if they should call 911. They didn't, because their other employees were like, no, it's fine. And that employee was really disturbed by what was going on, and they continued to worry about it. And so when they left the store an hour later, they made sure to look over and see if they saw anything and the lights were off. It was completely quiet. They didn't see anything. So they weren't worried. They were like, oh, okay, that really must have been, somebody was probably just upset with each other because they dropped stuff and they had to pick it all up and they made a mess, and that has to be all it is. And so Brittany was ultimately arrested. Not even ultimately. Brittany was arrested like 7-8 days later. Her trial happened in October. So March 11th, she's arrested. And then the trial happens in October, like really fast. She pled not guilty. At the trial, she did not testify. But ultimately, they conceded somewhat that she did it, but they tried to paint a picture that either Jayna had attacked her or she was mentally unstable, which she couldn't get away with the mentally unstable one. So then she kind of tried to hint that Jayna attacked her, and that's why they got into a fight, but it didn't. No, it's not what happened. That happened. The judge did not give her a possibility of parole, so she will spend her life in prison. Jayna's family is as okay as they can be with it. You know, it was really hard for them. In those first couple of days, remember, they thought that Brittany suffered alongside with their daughter, and they felt just such love and such care, and they wanted to send her flowers, but she didn't want anything, and they really were going to reach out to her and offer support and sympathy, and literally before they can even get to that, they get a phone call that, no, she did it. And she staged this whole thing. I've done a lot of like research trying to understand how like 911 dispatching works. And like, I have a really kind of knack for understanding. I don't think that people understand like how okay it is to call 911. Yeah, I mean, you don't need to call them to talk to them about your life, but you can call them and tell them anything that makes you nervous, anything that you're worried about. Okay? Especially if you're not the kind of person to call 911 and you call them and be like, I know this might sound weird, but I literally just saw something that scared me. I think something's happening. They're not going to be mad at you if you're wrong. Ever. They're not going to call you back and be like, hey, Melissa, why'd you call me and say that you thought you saw a car accident? Because there wasn't one. I mean, like, they're going to go check it out. If you're wrong, wrong. It is okay. You can call. I hope my people know that. Call 911 if you think anything. Check it out. Don't put yourself in harm's way. And I'm not saying this, the security guard should have went over there or the girl in the Apple store. No, because they don't want them to get harmed. But you have a billion other options, security guard dude. Call the cops. Just call. Just go look, go peek. All they had to do was just peek around a little bit further. They would have seen something. They would have seen the stuff all over the front of the store that had been knocked over. They would have called 911 and been like, hey, I don't know what's going on over there, but I think they got robbed and now crap's happening. Before I leave, that is the last thing that I don't have an answer for. I can't find it. It's kind of annoying me and I can't. I'm already like at least 20 hours of investigation in, so I'm not going to go find it again. The money. They said that the safes were open when they came in and Brittany told them that the guys robbed them. So where's the money? It wasn't in the car. We know she took the car and drove down the way and parked it. Did she go take that money somewhere else? Was there money missing? Literally in no article, it keeps saying robbery, but then it never mentions money. So was there money missing? Did she hide the money? Was it a lot of money? Was it just, I don't know. I'm kind of curious. Do you guys know? If you guys know, let me know because that's the one thing I didn't figure out. Anyways, I appreciate you guys so much. That's the video I have for you guys. And do me a favor. I say this at the end of every one of my videos. Hug your babies and hug your loves. Life is literally precious. Enjoy every minute of every day. Don't take anything for granted. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Oh, shit, it's far.